Hi everyone, I hope all is well. My name is Ashanti and welcome to Uniquely Ashanti's Corner. As you can see from the title, I'm going to be sharing why I would never participate in mukbang from a Christian perspective. And if I happen to be saying it wrong, I apologize in advance. There seems to be two ways of saying that word. I think it's mukbang, mukbang. Anyway, if you don't know what mukbang is, it's basically a video or a live broadcast where one person or a few people will eat large amounts of food while conversing with their audience. It first became popular in Korea, and now you see more and more YouTubers doing it today. These are very popular for two reasons. The first reason is that it gives some people a feeling of having a regular conversation with a friend over dinner, lunch, whatever, even though the person isn't physically with them. And the second reason is some people actually like to hear the smacking and the slurping sounds of someone eating. I mean, there are even videos here on YouTube where people aren't talking at all in the video. You just watch and hear them slurping and smacking their food, which is a little odd in my opinion, but I digress. And even though someone slurping and chewing food loudly is actually something that irritates me personally, there is a deeper reason as to why I choose not to watch those types of videos or even consider doing it myself. And that reason is gluttony, which is habitual eating and eating more than you really need. In other words, stuffing yourself. Now, this is a subject that is not talked about as much because many don't view it as being on the same level as adultery, idolatry, murder, and so on. And what many people don't realize is that gluttony is idolatry. And not only can it harm us physically, it can actually harm us spiritually. Now, let's take into consideration Philippians 3:19, for example. In that verse, Paul is describing the actions of false teachers who proclaim that they're leading people closer to God. He describes these false teachers as, and this is coming from the King James Version of the Bible, whose end is destruction, whose God is their belly, and whose glory is in their shame, who mind earthly things. Now, I know that the God is their belly part is probably sounding a little strange to some of you about now, but to bring it to clarity, think about comfort food. Some people who are frustrated, sad, depressed will drown their sorrows in their favorite foods in order to feel a sense of peace and happiness. It's their form of escaping from the reality of life. But God's word says that He is our refuge, and if we place our trust in Him, He will supply all of our needs. God is the true source of our comfort and our peace. While the comfort food feels good at the moment and it tastes real good, it is only a temporary fix. And a lot of people think that gluttony just refers to gaining weight or it's only pertaining to food, but it's more than that. Gluttony means to overindulge in anything, whether it's social media, partying, being on your cell phone, and so many other things. The reason why it's so important for us to make sure gluttony doesn't have control over us is because it has to do with self-control. Now, I know what question you are probably thinking about. What does self-control have to do with eating a large amount of food or overindulging in other things? Well, the answer is simple. If we don't have self-control over food, our phone, social media, how can we possibly expect to have self-control when it comes to growing closer to Christ? When you decide to give your whole life, not just partially, but your whole life, that means that you have to give up your old habits. And the thing about habits is that it can actually start from things that we consider to be minor. And the best way that I can actually explain this is to talk about the snowball effect. Sorry, I have lost my train of thought for a second. Anyway, many people don't realize it, but many of the bad habits that we have stem from the smaller habits that we form, and it grows into something bigger over time. First, it starts with something such as eating too much. Then you find yourself cursing more than you used to. Then you immerse yourself in social media every day. Then you might find yourself doing something like smoking and drinking often to get through a rough day. Then you turn to drugs in order to get a high. And these are just a few examples of how one bad habit can lead to another. And I'm sure many of you are familiar with that saying, if you lie, you will cheat. If you cheat, you will steal. If you steal, you will kill. When we don't control our bad habits, we end up with a large snowball full of our bad habits that wreak havoc not only in our lives, but in the lives of those around us. It makes it easy for us to commit sin because we're doing it without even giving it a second thought. And there's a clear difference between being hungry and greedy, and I get it. When we haven't eaten anything all day, our eyes are bigger than our stomachs, and we fill ourselves to the point where we are just going to pop. And I am definitely guilty of this, and I'm guilty of getting just a little bit more food because it tasted so good, knowing good and well I was full. I mean, there were times I ate so much that all I could do was just lay on the floor in my bedroom waiting for that food to digest. Being bloated like that is such a miserable feeling, especially when someone keeps wanting you to do something. I mean, I kid you not, whenever I was bloated like that, there was somebody who wanted me to do something for them, and I'm just like, oh, I am too full, give me a break. But I've gotten better about that bad habit because I was getting tired of feeling bloated like that, and that was not good at all. Now, anyway, one way that you can implement self-control is to actually make a list of bad habits that you want to fix. And I don't mean just mentally making a list. You need to get a sheet of paper and write it all down. That's right, I'm telling you to go old school, okay? Pick one or two of those habits from the list and work on them for about a month or so. And when you see some progress, return back to the list and repeat the process for the rest of them. And if you're having problems with figuring out what bad habits you have, take into consideration some of the things your friends and your family have previously brought to your attention. And, excuse me, whether you want to admit it or not, I know someone has told you about a habit that you need to get a grip on, right? I know that a lot of times we don't really like to hear about our own faults. We don't want to admit that we have a problem. Our first reaction is, I don't have a problem. I can stop whenever I want to. Or, I don't do it every day. I only do it when ABC happens. Or, if I really had a problem, I would know about it. But the thing is, a lot of us don't know when we have a problem because we're doing it subconsciously. When we get so wrapped up in the things that's going on in our lives, sometimes it's hard to see how our actions are affecting others. And some of us are afraid of facing the issues we have because it means that we have a problem, that we have lost control somewhere in our lives. And sometimes some of us feel like that means that we are a horrible person. And that is so not true. That is far from the truth. You are fearfully and wonderfully made. God does not expect us to be perfect. And as long as we live, we are going to make mistakes. That's just life. And if no one has told you about your bad habits yet, ask them about it. I know our faults are a hard pill to swallow a lot of times. I know this. I know. But you got to do it in order to be the best you that you can be. We all want to be the best us, right? And I'm not saying that this is going to be easy. No one says it's going to be easy. It's going to take a lot of faith, a lot of time, a lot of patience, and some mistakes are going to be made along the way in order for you to beat that bad habit, or habits, I should say. You can't just push a button and your problems just disappear. You got to put in the hard work in order to see results. People don't reach finish lines by just wishing for it. They got to practice. They got to pump those arms and legs, make sure their breathing is on point. Get their mind focused. And if you're not willing to put in the hard work, guess what? You'll never be able to accomplish anything. You also have to consistently pray. Pray, because if you don't seek God's guidance in your journey, you'll always be stuck. In Matthew 4:4, it says, "It is written, man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceedeth out of the mouth of God." I don't know why I almost messed up on that. When God says that our body is a temple, that means that we have to be mindful of where we physically stand, mentally stand, and where we spiritually stand. Ask God to help you to break away from gluttony by showing you that His Word is what you should fill your spirit with. Ask the people in your life to help you to monitor your progress by letting you know when you're slipping, and if necessary, keep a journal where you write down the different tasks that you did in a day. This can really help you to hold yourself accountable. It really does, because you're visually seeing it. Spend a little time each day reading your Bible. You can overcome this. I know you can overcome this, but you have to have the willpower and believe that you can do it. It really doesn't mean anything if I'm saying I believe in you. You got to believe in yourself. That's where it starts. Now, there's nothing wrong with having a hearty appetite, but what I'm saying is it is important that we're practicing self-control in order to live a happier life and be spiritually filled by Christ. So before you decide to watch another mukbang video or you decide to do one yourself, please be mindful of the things that I mentioned in this video. So that pretty much brings me to the end of this video. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I hope that you were able to take something away from this. If you know someone who struggles with gluttony, please feel free to share this video if you feel like that this is going to help them. Please leave your thoughts down below. I would love to hear from you. If you do, please refrain from profane language, even if it's an abbreviation. Please be respectful. God bless each and every single one of you. And let me get this off. And I'll talk to you soon.